What's up, dude?
What's up?
You want to say some things?
I'll say some things. How's it going?
Good.
Right on. All right. So, I don't know how many of you guys know, interest rates are kind of trending downward. They did kind of shoot up, but everything's status quo. The Fed's not changing anything. There's talks that they might lower it a couple times, but at the end of the day, we really have to focus on CPI numbers. And at the end of the day, just focus on what we know. And what we know is where rates are at today and what we can do as far as strategies today. So a couple things that we're seeing right now. I've had a few of these recently, and some of you may or may not know this. If you have people that are starting new jobs, we can close on just an offer letter. They don't even have to start yet. So, and it actually sometimes can be easier before they start, because if they're hourly and we do wait for a paycheck and that paycheck doesn't show 40 or 80 hours a week, if they're paid every couple of weeks, you can actually sometimes run into issues because underwriters right now are tearing apart income. They're being ultra conservative, and if your hourly doesn't match that you're full time, they can actually tear it apart. But all that to say, I have a couple people right now closing on loans that haven't even started their jobs yet. So there's a couple things we need from the employer, but the big one is an offer letter just stating what they're going to be for hourly rate and or salary and how many hours they're guaranteed. Usually we want to see 40 hours a week. So if you have a buyer that's looking to relocate and they're like, well, I haven't started my new job yet, that's fine. We can work with that and you can close on it in a normal amount of time, 30 days or less typically. So any questions on that at all? It's kind of straightforward.
How far out, Michael, does that work? Like if I'm starting my job 6 months from now, 3 months from now?
I want to say, actually, I'll check on that. I believe you have to start within the first payment. So that's typically what you need to start is when that first payment is due. So if you close right now, first payment's due July 1st, you have to start by that period, typically. And there's always room for exceptions on that, but that is pretty standard on you have to start by that date. And then you also have to have enough reserves in the bank to cover basically the payment from then on, which you don't have one. So again, that's underwriting being ultra conservative. But usually that's not a huge hurdle. But yeah, good question. The other thing that's very popular right now is a lot of people have a down payment or they have closing costs. I don't think a lot of people realize how much closing costs can be, especially when you start talking about an interest rate buy down. And as we are in the spring market, seller paid closing costs are not as guaranteed as they were 6 months ago. In a lot of cases, you're not getting them at all. So one way that you can cover that is you can use down payment assistance. And, I never want to harp too much on down payment assistance because it's good if you can bring your own down payment and not come into a project with essentially negative equity, which you do. And I explain that to every client. However, when you're talking about the down payment assistance, you are borrowing money at a 0% interest rate. And the only time it's paid back is if you sell the home, refinance the home, or pay the home off. So case in point, if you borrow $20,000 today on down payment assistance and you kept that loan for 30 years, you would owe $20,000. There's no deferred interest. So if you have 20 grand and essentially you could take that money and put it in a high yield savings account and earn 5% on that money right now, you'd actually be making money on your down payment and have a house. I'm not going to necessarily say that that's probably the best way, but it's something that you can utilize, and it doesn't have to be just for the down payment. So case in point, if they have down payment money and they don't have closing costs and the seller's not going to cover it and there's no room to stack that above and beyond in where it won't appraise, you can use down payment assistance up to 5% to offset the closing costs. And you don't have to use all the down payment assistance. You could use 1% of it and only owe a few $1,000s. So it's kind of nice to know that that is available. You have to make under, I believe it's $180,000 a year. It's available for conventional, FHA, actually VA and USDA has some stuff as well. And then you have to get an inspection on the home. You don't have to show us the inspection report. You just have to provide a copy of the invoice that said you paid for it. And then you have to take a $50 class online. So under $180,000 a year, $50 class online, you have to get an inspection. So that's really it. And it's a program that I'm seeing utilized a lot, especially by first-time home buyers, because it's either, you know, everybody wants their payment super low and then everybody wants to have a bunch of money in the bank. That can kind of help bridge the gap for somebody. And then if and when interest rates come down, they can refinance and then pay that off. And essentially you do have to wrap it up into the new loan when you refinance. So that's another kind of thing that we have to explain, like, listen, if you refinance in a year, you may not have the value to wrap this up into the new loan. So you have to just weigh the pros and cons, and we make sure that they understand everything. But it's a powerful tool that a lot of people are utilizing because there's just, it can be hard to find money and where to get it for down payment and closing costs. So any questions on that? And that's for primary residence only, no investment properties.
Michael, what's the maximum? Is it 6% maximum on the down payment assistance?
5%. 5% back from it's basically 5% of the loan amount that you get as down payment assistance is the maximum you can typically get.
You said no interest, but there's also, just to be clear, there's no monthly payment associated with that.
Nope, it's not deferred interest. There's no monthly payment and there's no interest on it at all. You do have it's what's called a silent second mortgage. So it's just sitting there silently, but it is something that you owe on. And if you sell the home, that will come off the bottom line.
Another question, you might have spoken to this before, but maybe go over again the secondary market changes with respect to the overall costs available to be paid by a seller at closing with respect to buyer agency commissions that are now exempt from the typical traditional limits, correct?
Yep, correct. Yep. And to be honest, I'm pretty sure it was always that way. It's always been that if it's custom in the area for the seller to cover the buyer's agent's commission, then it was never really included in the seller closing cost limits and so on, the concessions back. There might be some areas in the country where that wasn't common, but I've never in my 10 plus, coming up on 12 years of doing this, run into an issue where the seller paying the buyer's agent's commission ever counted against any seller credit limitations as far as percentages go. You know, as far as the buyer goes. So yes, it's now set in stone that that's not an issue, but I never ran into the issue to begin with.
Is everybody clear on that? What that means? Like basically, we'll get into it a little bit further about the NAR settlement, what's happening in that world as far as buyer broker commissions. Sellers can pay. Yeah, go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, basically the sellers are limited to how much they can give a buyer in seller credits. Up to 6% on conventional if you're putting at least 10% down, or if you're putting less than that, 5%, or you get 3% back in seller credits. So I think the big concern was that if now the seller, they were trying to determine whether or not that the buyer's agent's commission was going to count against them in their seller credits. So if the buyer got 3% back from the seller and the agent was getting 3% on their commission, does that essentially cancel out anything the buyer can get? And if it's common in the area that the home is being sold where sellers pay for buyer's agents commissions, then it didn't count against it. And then it sounds like they basically flat out said now that it won't count against it, and they actually made a ruling against it. So that's good. I mean, there's not going to be any sort of mix up at this point. Now it's set in stone, so we don't have to worry about that.
Yay.
Yeah, that's all I got. Any questions on the market at all, or?
Market's nuts.
It is nuts. Yeah.
At least in the 4 to 5 range has been absolutely nutty. So, has anybody else seen that or know what's going on?
Demand, you mean?
Oh, yeah, like pending on day one.
Yeah.
Within like 6 hours of,
In Wenatchee.
yeah, or like 7 offers, and it's just stupid.
Where are you guys
That's
seeing where are you seeing the price range at to where things take a little longer to sell? Do you know, where's that cutoff that you're seeing?
I feel like it's like 6 and above. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
6 to 8 or something in that range.
Where you might be able to get closing cost, some concessions maybe still?
Mhm.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
Yeah.
the 4 to 5 is nuts. Escalation clauses, additional down payment addendums. It's like 2,000, yeah, right when I started, just getting into the mess.
You know what that one ended up going for, Ashley, with Nicole? Just out of curiosity, because what it was at 335 list. We offered 475, do you know, or sorry, 435, and then we offered 475. Do you know what it ended up going for?
So yeah, it was listed at 439. This was one on Wilson Street. And really like the oldest furnace and heat pump I've ever seen, like bunch of outdated everything. And I know it definitely went, oh, and the roof was like dipping above the garage. And it
Gosh.
went cash above 450. She wouldn't
Okay.
tell me how much, but I'm sure it was in like the 475. She
Okay.
had 5 offers. So nuts.
We're back, and people think they're gonna wait for interest rates to come down for them to get a good deal.
Yeah, it's already crazy.
Yep, and we're in the, low 7s, high 6s right now. So if things went down even, I mean, yeah, people, that's the other last thing. Just explain to them that, I mean, there's simple economics. There is no supply, and when the demand increases, there's going to be bidding wars, as there already are, and rates really haven't moved that much. When they move a quarter of a point, people freak out, and all of a sudden you see 5 offers on a house like that. So buying now is a great time. The Fed will lower the rates eventually, and it's just a matter of whether it happens this year or next year. And when it happens, things are going to go crazy. So they're not building enough houses to meet demand.
And there are ways to find off-market deals.
Mm-hmm.
So full addresses and letters, that's what I'm gonna try to do for Nicole. Is just
Cool.
send letters and just find off-market deals so you don't compete.
There you go.
Those lines, I have another example of something like that happening. It was this house that had been listed for a long time. They changed realtors, like came down to the same price that the seller had purchased it for, 2 years prior. So they were losing money already at their asking price. They dropped it another 25,000 down to 675. I showed it to my buyer. There wasn't any cards. The listing agent seemed really desperate, like, oh, how was it? Like, are you gonna bring me an offer? And we were kind of working, trying to get her pre-approval finalized, because it had been over 90 days. And then, so I just texted like, hey, we're working on it, we should have it to you soon. He said, oh, I'm glad you let me know because I have another offer coming in. Like all of a sudden, like you just get to that right price point. So it was like that house had been on the market for 6 months and then all of a sudden we have a competitive 2 offer situation.
Yep.
Yeah.
Also, Pacific Appraisals, they track a lot of things, including appreciation. They have medium and average, and I think those numbers are up like 10 and 12% over the, year to year. So I think that's a really interesting number, and as an investor, I can really appreciate that number as well.
Thanks, Mike. We kill him.
No, I'm just trying to move spotlight. Okay, there we go.
How much interest do you pay when you rent?
100%.
Just trick question.
We're awake.
Mhm. Well, thanks, Michael. Appreciate you.
You're muted, Michael. You're muted. There you go.
Oh, there we go. Absolutely. Yeah, just let me know if you have any other questions. And yeah, it's crazy. If I have any updates, I'll let you guys know.
Great. Thanks so much.
Yeah.
Thanks, Michael.
Coming up, Sydney, you want to say things about Red Day?
Sure. Yeah. So this year at Red Day, we're gonna be in one location. It's gonna be great. We're gonna be there the whole day. We don't have to get in our cars all dirty and go to the next location. So we're gonna be at Bruce House. That was a really popular one last year. So they're just gonna keep us busy, basically 9 to 5. So we're gonna meet here at the office about 9. Just in your scrubs, they're gonna have all the tools necessary for us, is my understanding. So we might do some painting, some gardening, weeding, that kind of stuff, you know, our usual mix of fun manual labor items. What else to say about it? I mean, oh, 9 to 4, sorry, not 9 to 5.
One thing you
but
can
yeah.
talk about the mileage you could get from the marketing perspective in social media.
Oh, sure. I mean, you're kind of the marketing expert on that. I mean, but yeah, definitely post about it, you know.
A lot of people, you know, if you don't tell people what you're doing, thanks. If you don't tell people what you're doing, they don't know what you're doing. And, you know, people like people that are nice. Giving back to the community. And, you know, if you have a choice between someone who's not giving back to the community and someone who is, who are you gonna work with? So it's not braggadocious to just explain to people, especially with social media where it's basically free, what you're doing as a company. And if you can imagine, we have 59 real estate agents that are licensed here right now. Can you imagine if everybody just did that like once a week? Just kind of said what you were doing for people or what you were doing in your day, and all of a sudden collectively, the power of that. I think we often underutilize the power of what we are, because we're self-employed, we're individual people, but we're under an umbrella, and together we can use that to our individual advantage if we just share what we're doing in a day. Most people, especially now, are pessimistic about realtors in general. You know? This lawsuit has kind of put a negative spotlight on the industry, and I'll get into that. But anyway, just something to think about when you're doing something that's, whether you're showing a house or whether you're listing a house or whether, you know, just don't be afraid to share with the public what you're doing.
Is this our 7th annual Red Day?
6, 7.
I think it
One
can
of
be
those.
7, because we've been in business 6, but we think before we even we did one.
Our
before.
7th annual Red Day, and like, you know, when my clients want to see a house on that day, like, I'm not afraid to say, oh, you know, I'm so sorry, we're gonna have to pick a different time, because that's our company-wide volunteer
Worldwide.
day, you know, yeah, and, you know, I'll be busy volunteering in the community for that, so I'm sorry that, you know, we'll have to do it after, how's 6 o'clock? Yeah,
And that's
Thanks.
this Thursday.
yes, yeah, in 2 days.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, coming up.
The calendar.
So who can I count on? All right.
For a
Sounds
little
good.
bit, because my dog will get pissed.
Yeah, I mean, and it's come and go, you know, like drop it, you don't have to be there for the whole time, like come for whatever time you can be there for. I got a mad puppy, so.
Does he eat weeds?
Hmm?
Does he eat weeds?
I don't know if he's very fast. He would probably run away. I don't even know. He does dig holes and he does cry and he does have separation anxiety, so he drools. And yeah.
All right.
You gotta love him, huh?
No, I love him. He's great. He's
All right,
like
guys.
8 weeks, 9 to 10, something. I don't know. It's gonna go on for a while. Yeah, it's great.
All right, I'm not sure who that girl is, but who's heard of Arrow Advantage?
If not, you have paper on your thing.
No idea what it is.
Well,
I have
yeah.
a small thought.
Okay, go ahead. Fire away.
Actually, I have no idea.
Stella knows what Arrow is.
I feel like my guess is that like, if you don't want to be a full-time agent, I don't know, something about referrals.
You're right on track. So here's the two, in our development arm, we have a development company that has some projects going and title and planning and soft costs right now, engineering, surveying. So basically, we're in charge of 4 projects, one in Douglas County, Chelan County, Okanagan County, and the city of Chelan. Part of the goal of that company is to provide essential worker housing for what I call the missing middle. So the people that make too much money to get a Habitat for Humanity house or to get like a housing trust house or any government subsidies, federal subsidies, assistance, because that's at the poverty line essentially. And they don't make enough money to compete in the open market. So in areas like Leavenworth and Chelan, we're seeing historically, and we still see more and more money coming from the west side of the mountains. More and more people working from home, making a higher level than your hospitality, your service, your government, like firefighters, cops, teachers, nurses. So one of our goals is to provide housing from the construction point, and that's a very difficult thing to do. There's a lot of reasons why the supply is so low. Man, it used to be that acquisition costs were the big problem, or labor was a problem, or pipes and excavation was a problem.
It's always something.
Yeah, now it's the government. Yeah, hands down, in my opinion, the government's lack of ability to talk to each other in various departments and the lack of predictability that comes in that makes it very risky to do anything. A year into a project, they'll say, oh, by the way, you have to build a sidewalk to Seattle. You okay with that? A year into it, what the hell are you talking about? It's that weird, literally. So that's one of our goals. The other goal is to help people make more money in their daily lives doing what they're already doing. Think about that. If someone could say to you, let's say you're a server at Applebee's. And somebody said, doing exactly what you're doing, you can make an extra $5,000 a year, an extra 10 grand a year. Would that be of interest to you? Because if you can't, like we just talked about, the supply of houses is really, I mean, what Michael said, it's the basic law of supply and demand, although it's been a long time since I got my finance degree, I still think it's the same. And that is, if you have no supply, the supply side economics kind of the curve runs the show. So if you have one donut and 10 cops, no offense cops, I love donuts too. The donut's worth more money than if you have 10 donuts, right? So if there's so many supply constraints that we can't change supply easily, then how do we help people make more money so they can afford the homes that we have? Well, that's where this came in. So Arrow is a company that we own, stands for Agent Referral Opportunity. So you're on the right track. It's a non-realtor company, so there's no dues. You cannot sell real estate in this company if you're an agent. It's actually in the building in Chelan. It's a brokerage that I'm the designated broker of. It's owned by an LLC. And the whole idea is that if you want to take advantage of the school that we have, or if you're an agent, like the guy at the bottom here, Jerry Smith, he was an agent with us. He's retired and he's kind of got out of selling, but he still is out there talking to people. So anybody that he refers, because one of the things the state of Washington, you guys might not know this, is that you can't legally pay somebody a commission referral if they're not licensed with the state. That's otherwise known as a kickback. Yeah, they kind of don't like bribes for whatever reason. So you don't want to go to jail, you don't want to lose your license. So if you want to, but try to imagine an entire community that was referring people to you. What would that look like? Think of all the people that you know that work with the public. And what if they could get a 25% referral fee for referring their coworkers or their family and friends to you as the licensed agent at KW?
And how much more intentional they'd be. You know?
25%? Would you guys pay 25% for a hot lead?
Mhm.
At closing? Not up front, at closing. Now, guess what? We have K-Score. Bailey, how you doing? This is Bailey. Bailey's from Woodinville. She moved over to Leavenworth. We're old friends. Another 32 minutes. No, welcome, Bailey.
Thank you.
This is part of the Rat Pack. There's a lot more of them somewhere. But welcome. So you can imagine.
She's in K-Score.
She's in K-Score, yeah.
Yeah, it was the
Early onset,
connection.
didn't we? Never
Yeah.
mind. Yeah, so you can imagine, like, if you're in a free real estate school, if you know somebody that has a lot of ambition, you know, I know a lot of my friends. I had a friend that has a couple little kids and kind of going through a rough time, and she came to me and she's like, I'm willing to clean, I'm willing to work hard, paint, whatever, you know, do you have anything? Because I don't have enough money to buy food for my kids for the next 3 weeks. She's really down and out, but she's ambitious, she's enthusiastic, she just went through some rough patches. That's the kind of person that I just go, look, do you have an internet connection? If you don't, you come to my office and use mine. We have a free school. There's no dues for this situation because you're not a realtor. You're just a licensed agent. So we don't sell real estate. So there's no E&O insurance. There's none. I cut out all the stuff. So really on a monthly basis, there's not that much, there's not that many fees. But if she's ambitious, and she's now managing a winery in Chelan. And guess what she's done already? Doesn't even have a license yet. She's in the class, going full bore, but she became a manager of a winery that was just purchased for $7 million. Now I had this conversation a month before that all happened. She introduced me to the winery owner who's going to develop real estate, and it looks like we're going to get 6 or 7 lots at $500,000 a piece. and she's gonna get 25% of those listings. I'm gonna hold it until she's licensed. I don't have it yet. So I then hooked him up with Dan Beardsley, who is the godfather of land planning in the area, and that one conversation might lead to, let's say, 500,000 times 7, that's 3.5 million, times 3%, which is what, 600, what is that? 3.5 times 6%,
I didn't get a calculator for that.
Yeah.
$300,000 times 20%, $60,000 she could.
Can I ask a question?
Mhm.
So what determines who the lead goes to? Like if you sign somebody up?
They have to tell us that they did it, so they have to work with Kelly.
Yeah.
And they have to sign, like, say, I just told this person to use you. And if that person does,
So you're saying if I have someone, they're referring to me, but if a random person signs up for it, I think is what you're saying, right?
No, I meant
Okay.
if it were somebody that I told them about it, the program. So if somebody already has their real estate license, like I know a couple agents that already have a license, but they're not really doing it right now and they couldn't afford
Right.
the MLS and all that.
Yeah.
So could they just sign up here?
exactly right. Jerry Smith is a good example. That was a licensed agent with KW who didn't want to pay the fees anymore. He's kind of slowing down. Or, you know, people can't afford to pay, whatever, right?
Yeah.
Whatever the reason is.
Or they're retired? or
Retired.
Whatever, I talked to 2 or 3 people right off.
Kelly, who
Yeah,
else,
call me.
who else is in that from our?
Caitlin, she was a brand new agent with us, signed on, and then she had a family, there was an accident, and she's having to care for a family member over in Seattle, so she switched from our firm to Arrow, so she can at least keep her license going and she can do referrals while she's over there.
And then who are they referring their referrals to?
Only KWNCW agents.
So is that is there a partnership between that person and that licensed agent, or is it going through, like, who's getting those leads?
Whoever that person wants to give them to.
Okay, right, so that's what, yeah, so if I have someone who wants to sign up for this, then any lead that they have goes to me.
If that, if they like you.
Yeah.
Then those come to the brokerage. We'll say, we'll bill them out. Michael Jordan gets the ball. You know, what I mean, like, there's not too many people that don't know somebody. You know, like, there's usually a connection somewhere. So that hasn't
Whoever
happened.
has the most likelihood of closing the deal
Yeah.
and getting paid.
Yeah, that's what I meant by Michael Jordan gets the ball. Everybody know Michael Jordan? He's a good shooter. Yeah, so I mean, at the end of the day, when we wanna, as a brokerage, you wanna reward people for being involved and being active and participating, you know, so those don't come around. Most people know somebody, so it's really not, we're talking about a lot. This is all about helping the community make more money doing what they already do. So the way I look at it is if you could create a community of realtors, like we all like referrals. So why don't we incentivize people financially? We have a free real estate school. That's the only, I mean, I don't know if anybody else does, but I know we do. And so now I open a brokerage that isn't a realtor member. That's actively, I can be a designated broker of 2 companies in the state of Washington simultaneously. So I thought, why not? And believe it or not, when you get people out there hustling for you to give you referrals, and all they have to do is get that license, or if to your point, if they already have a license, they just move it over to Arrow Advantage technically, and Arrow again is agent referral opportunity. That's where it comes from.
And if you have someone interested, just send them my way and I can get them signed up. And then I get to start another spreadsheet.
So to clarify, so they can do the scholarship for the schooling through us,
Mhm.
and then they would just need to pay themselves to take the test to become a realtor, and I'm guessing like fingerprints, they make you do that, and that's it. So nothing else.
Licensing fee, the testing and the licensing fee.
They don't have to do NAR, they don't have to do.
Oh, Northwest MLS,
Or, you know,
Or tech fees, command fees, any of the stuff that you have to do when you're selling real estate.
Got it.
That's why you cannot sell real estate in that brokerage.
To clarify, selling is buying and listing.
Yeah, you only, it's an only referring based company.
Speaking of NAR, are we ever gonna ditch that?
Yeah,
Or make it
Elephant in the room.
I know, I love the elephant in the room. I mean, good God.
I think you're on the right track. I'll be open and transparent. I've been a union guy my whole career. Started in 1989, so that's a lot of union dues. I was disappointed in how they handled this year. Now, I can only be so disappointed because I didn't speak up. But in my heart of hearts, as we get closer to the end of the year, I will speak up. And what I mean by that is, let's say they have 100,000 in the bank. When I was the president, we had like 150,000 in the bank. A long time ago. I don't know how much money's in the bank. You're the president-elect, but so Sid's the president-elect. But we've had these conversations. What I wish they would have done in a tough year, in July, last year was a tough year. For a lot of people, to your point, a lot of people couldn't stay in the business because of the dues. I've never liked that it's right after Christmas. I've never liked that it's in the middle of winter. I've never liked that they've never said, we're gonna give you 4 quarterly payments, at least on the local dues, because your dues are made up of state, local, and national. I've never liked any of the lack of flexibility, and this year I got a nasty one. And I was like,
It's kind of an ultimatum. It always feels that way.
and I know we know it's coming, but we're realtors for Christ's sake, we're not accountants. I mean, we're horrible at
And
that.
I will say, I went to battle for you guys. I tried to get quarterly payments. I tried to get 30-day extensions. I tried everything I could think of, and it was just flat no.
Yeah, so I don't know, I mean, I'm not gonna say yes or no, Skip, but I think you're,
No, just wanted to ask.
yeah, you're on,
Yeah.
yeah.
I writing that check every year.
Here's the downside, and it's not, the downside is it's not the legal hotline anymore. I think that there's an app for that. It's not the tech support. There's an app for that.
We have Ashley.
A lot of national. There's a lot of things that they used to sell as benefits that I'm not really realizing that are benefits in today's world that used to be very, very important.
Oh, and discounts on computers too, and appliances, don't forget about that.
There's an Amazon for that. Here's where we're gonna get ultimately screwed in this game. And that's the defense against the offense in Olympia. The dues that go to buy lobbyists through what's called RPAC, the Realtor Political Action Committee. I'll give you some examples in my career, in fairly recent times. Try to imagine excise tax at 7%. That would have happened, or somewhere between 1.78 and 7. It would have been the stepping stone. Try to imagine sales tax on all services, including commission income. Add another 8% on top of what you're already paying. What would that look like? The big one was try to imagine where every bank could open a real estate company, put that real estate brokerage inside the bank, and they know who has the money and who doesn't in the nation. They would have taken over the entire industry. That was pushed back in Washington, D.C. A lot of these things in Washington, D.C. and in Washington State, we don't know about because we're playing defense. So we just stop the attack. So nobody really, when you're on offense, you get a victory. When you're on defense, you just don't get a loss. So that's where I get worried. That's where I get worried.
Yeah, that's where we see the value for.
And we don't know
national
these
association.
things, right?
Yeah.
But I think the other thing is, they lost, or we all lost, and have to do this whole broker compensation shit show.
Yeah.
That's just my opinion.
It's a good point. One of the things that I've learned in my career is that litigation, I think somebody, I think it was who's the girl from Seattle, that talks a lot on the OP calls? Angie. She's very outspoken. I like her. I mean, she's very outspoken and she's very intelligent. She said, by the time you get to court, you've already lost. There's no truer statement. I was in litigation for a long time. It's very expensive. It's not what you want to do. Try to imagine 20 closings to pay for the beginning of litigation, 40 closings to pay for the middle of litigation, and 60 closings to pay for. So if you go to court, you lose. Now we're in a very litigious society, so that sucks, right? Well, I don't know. I think at the end of the day, anything can happen in a jury trial. And that's what we were facing in this case. There was a 19-year-old on the jury. No offense, 19-year-olds. Never bought a house before. 19. He's on the jury. He's going to be, he or she, I think it's a boy, but a good litigator is the best salesman you've ever met in your life. They're assassins. They could take horse maneuver and turn it into ice cream, and you'll like it. I mean, that's how good these litigators are. So the facts don't matter. That's the challenge. So Yeah, I mean, it's a catch-22. If you're not gonna organize in your union, you're gonna struggle. You're gonna struggle, because they didn't think they were gonna lose that. To your point, they didn't think they were gonna lose.
Currently, it's still a KW mandate to be a Realtor member.
No.
No, no longer. Okay, so to your point, if the designated broker is a Realtor member, all of his brokers working under him must be Realtor members. So if Russ ever chooses to not be a Realtor member, the individuals can still choose to be a NAR member if they would like to.
And just to be clear, that change came 2 months after this year's dues were paid
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I didn't have
from the KW top.
conversation.
I mean, do you need to borrow another DB license?
Maybe.
I got one.
I'm not saying I'm a fan right now. I'm saying they kind of piss me off. Like, I-
700 times however many people don't want to do it,
I
right?
guess here's the,
Every year.
if we took half of that money and used that for marketing here, what would that create? You know, cause I really think I just got raked over the coals by an attorney on the new. So I'm kind of amped up to like, okay, I really wanna create a process to play defense here. Because that's something I think, if I don't know, how many people are there, 40?
right now in our company, yeah, 59.
59 times X, what is that buying us?
Yeah.
Versus,
Opportunity cost there.
because I don't really think, I know you said that could happen, but it's gonna probably happen anyways, whatever that's gonna happen.
Yeah,
But what could we do locally to use that money to help increase marketing? So we've got more referrals for all of us here,
yeah, I agree. I agree. It's good. Thanks, Jeff. Thanks, Skip. Here's a good segue into litigation. I'm looking at by mid-July, making some changes in the word. Or what? I'm a good artist, huh? I don't know or what. I don't know. What I'm worried about, guys, is that I listened to Ashley, I listened to Kelly, I listened to Marcia, and we still seem to not be getting through to quite a few people. And it's not that we're saying these things. I mean, does everybody know that I want one page? I want a Form 34, and I want to write everything I want on it. That's my love. And in the beginning of my career, I got away with it for like 5 years. The Russ McClellan School of Law was in effect. And it's perfect. So I'm not bucking the system. Like, I hear your pain of having to follow rules. I don't like rules. I never have liked rules. But these things right here, and I just want to have a little conversation about it because it's going to be coming. So like in maybe from May to June, I had an idea. Let's pick one of these. 2 days, the state of Washington tells me the brokerage must see your transaction if you're mutually accepted within 2 days. If they find out that I don't have that transaction file, I'm in deep trouble as a brokerage. It's not happening consistently. I've asked and asked and asked, and I'm not bitching. I'm just like, what do I do? Because everybody gets affected if I get sued.
And this is 2 business days from the date signatures were got.
Mutual acceptance. So here's an idea. In the month of May, maybe the month of June too. We're gonna send you a big, warning. I'll highlight it. You would have been charged $100. Every 2 days you're late, I charge you $100. Because one thing I know motivates people is money. My words don't. But I'm not gonna charge you, but I'm just gonna say, warning, warning. Bill Rogers, who's old enough to know what I'm
Robinson.
Will Robinson. Lost in space, old school stuff. So that's an idea to kind of help us just like, I'm not gonna charge you, but I'm saying, what if I did? What if I had to? Maybe by July, I have to start doing that. And it's just a habit. It's just being focused. Just, you can do it. I mean, once it's mutual, it's not complicated. Just a matter of taking that extra step to be in compliance with the state of Washington.
Or hire Vanessa and she'll do it for you.
Yeah, and that's what people should do, my God. I mean, for that, I mean, my God.
Great use of money.
Do you know what this is?
Great.
You know what this is right here? The rule of 168, you ever heard of that? That is 24 hours a day times 7 days a week. Brett Crow sells about $50 million a year. With the same amount of time we have. How does he do that?
Leverage.
Leverage. Leads, listings.
Leverage.
Or Vanessa. Leads, listings, Vanessa. That's how that works. Just try to imagine one closing that you pick up because there's that one day you spent 3 hours dealing with some BS something in your mutually accepted file that you could have been getting another listing. That pays for Vanessa and all our files. So here's my theory. When someone says, and I've heard this a lot, I don't have enough deals to pay Vanessa. I say, yeah, exactly.
Is it the chicken or the egg?
Exactly. You don't have enough deals because you don't have enough time unless you're wasting your time. I don't know if anybody's looking at Facebook, but I saw this thing from Gary V. You guys know Gary V. He said something pretty cool. He goes, at the end of the day, do you wish you had more time or did you thank God it's 5 o'clock? How do you feel at the end of your day? Because if you are an entrepreneur and at the end of it's 3 o'clock and you're like, oh my God, this day's going slow. If you're that, you're in the wrong industry. Or you just don't know what you don't know. And if that's the case, if you're that person, don't be upset. Don't feel embarrassed. Just come talk to me. Let's find out what's going on with your day. Let's find out what you could be doing in those minutes. Because every day, I know, Jess, I know a lot of us are like this. The worst part of my day is when I have to sleep.
I love sleep.
I love sleep too, but I don't sleep, but I love the idea of sleep.
Yeah.
I have drugs, I mean, that helps. But I love the idea of getting up in the morning and getting more shit done. Because I love the game. I had talked with your husband yesterday. And he's talking like, when do you get to a point where it's like you're there? I go, never. I go, who knows what my favorite sport was in high school? I was a 3-sport dude, baseball, football, and basketball.
Basketball? Basketball?
No. I played college basketball, but my favorite sport was football. But I was like 150 and I got a scholarship to play football and I went out on the football field and I went, holy shit, those guys are big. I was fast, but I would break me in half. So I was like, I'll play basketball. But I loved football. Specifically, I loved B8 football. B-League, small school, 8-man football. 60 points a game. It was incredible, right? Well, the worst day of football was I played the last football game, tackle football game was in the Tacoma Dome in the semifinals, and we stopped on the 1-yard line the last minute to go to the championship game. Score was 42-40 in the Tacoma Dome. For us, coming from Little Manson High School, that was amazing. But that was also the worst football day I ever had because I could never play tackle football again. I look at real estate like that. At the end of the day, it's like, God dang, the day's over. I got more to do. I got more to talk to people. I got more things. Well, if you have that feeling, you have a shot at the title. You have a shot at being rep. You have a shot at making, I met him, he was an Olive Garden waiter. He's now a multi-millionaire. He's no different than you. The only thing he does is he just loves what he does. He just focuses. Had this talking to my doctor daughter, who's an audiologist this morning, and she was a flamethrower. I trained her. She's good at it. Still, I talk to her about twice a day. She has 2 kids, so her life's getting a little hectic. As we know, if you have kids, you know how crazy that gets. I go, there's something you need to think about. And I said, I have to think about it all the time too. And she, after I got to talk, she goes, you do have to work on that. I said, I'm always working on it. You can have anything you want in life. Did you guys know that? We live in the greatest country on planet Earth. You can have anything you want in life. You just cannot have everything you want. Focus, focus, focus. And that's my problem. That's my problem. I'm on everything. So anyway, if you focus, you just become a laser beam, and there's a lot of levels of that, right? But if you enjoy the game and you don't look at things, I think what's his name that has 2,000 agents? United Home Group guy. His name is KW, he's got 2,000 agents or something.
Ben Kinney?
Not bad.
Cody?
That's his, it's, the other guy, the good looking guy from Alaska. It's a great story because he looks like he's from Los Angeles. But he was raised, he dropped out of high school in Alaska, and he was a hunting guy, high school. Now he's one of the wealthiest guys in Canada. He actually works for Gary Keller. Anyway, he has this statement. He goes, the problem with most people in real estate right now is that they look at lead generation as a task, not an opportunity. One of the things I told my daughter this morning, I said, well, have you ever heard the cliche? She said, I hate it with your cliches. If you change the way you look at things, what you look at changes. And the story you tell yourself matters. So if you're like, oh, geez, I have to work again, I got to go get an open house, they're going, sucks. Anybody want to go to the bar? Well, you're probably not going to be successful in real estate. If you have a lemonade stand and you're not excited about making lemonade, probably do something else with it. If you want to get paid for time, my wife hates this because she works for the government. So I get some serious like darts thrown at me. I've been married 2 years, so I'm still learning what not to say. I was single for 20, by the way. I was married when I was but I said, if you want to work for if you want to be mediocre in what you do for a living and you want to get paid for time, work for the government. Dangerous thing to say, man. But it's true. I'm not saying it's not, I'm not saying you're mediocre, honey. You're amazing. You're what the government needs. You're a patriot. I love it. Well, it just makes me feel. But if you don't enjoy the game, all right, okay. Attorney review dinner, please use it every day, every time. What do you do, Ash? How many days you put on?
So default's 5. If it's a really competitive house where there's multiple offers, I'll even put 1. And then the way to explain it to the buyer is, you're just signing this form. If you want an attorney to review this contract, just so you fully understand what you're signing. I still spend a lot of time explaining each form, but it's a liability protection thing.
Here's how I say it.
Yes.
I don't want you to sue me later when you have a convenient loss of memory, so I'm gonna put this form in here so you can't.
That's another way to. Don't worry, that's another one.
It's very basic, because here's the thing, I don't want you to say I didn't go over the form, especially with electronic signatures.
That's it too. I was just gonna make that comment, right? We just have everybody DocuSign away and everybody's gotten lazy and nobody's in front of anybody, and I don't think the buyers have a clue what they sign.
I spend at least like.
Yeah, I think that's a very valid point.
I send
Yeah.
it all via PDF and I say, let's call and go over this before you sign it.
No, most people don't, yeah.
Here's
So
how,
at least we put it in there and then we got the attorney review to cover our butt.
Yep.
That's right.
not only did I go over it with you, I made an addendum to make sure you could hire a lawyer. Thought I had him when I was changed. Whatever that is, right? So when your uncle, okay.
Finish your thought.
No, go ahead.
I wanted to ask, like, in the attorney, you can put 1 day or you can put 10 days. I don't know if any of you've ever tried to contact an attorney. If normally, like, they won't talk to you for like a day or so, or their assistant takes a day to get back to you. So if you put 1 day in there, like,
Haven't really thought of that, good point.
like, for a liability, is there a threshold at which it kind of doesn't help you?
Here's how it helps you. You could kill the deal. You have the authority to kill the deal.
I understand the present, or like the liability protection
You're
as a.
saying if they came back,
Yeah,
you're saying
like
you
if
didn't give
the
me
case
enough
does
time
come back.
to even talk to the attorney, that makes sense.
Yeah, like I would put 1 day in there for every one of them.
I'm just trying to get people to use it.
No, that makes sense. I guess on my point saying 1 day, that totally changes my opinion on 1 day. And I just say, this is a office my office really likes us to use this form.
Yeah.
Here's
The office best practice.
I just tell
The
them.
most pushback I've gotten is from the listing agents saying, why do you have this included? And I said, it's our best practice. They're like, well, do you really need 7 days? No, or 5 days or whatever. No, that's standard, but it does take time to get a response from an attorney. And I've had listing agents cross it out on a counter before.
Let me ask you this, here's how you defeat it. Let's say there's a inspection thing. 10's normal, right?
Yeah.
Let's say you have one, you should have one every year. Okay? If I'm inside the 10, it's irrelevant, because you can get out on the inspection bin if the sun doesn't come up bright red. Everybody know that? You don't, it's at your sole discretion. You can, I just don't wanna buy your damn house, I don't need a reason. That's the inspection event. So if you have another contingency that falls greater number of days than that one, say, hey, don't you wanna be protected in case your guy gets pissed at you? And as a cousin Guido, the lake breaker, that's a lawyer, becomes hot because, you know, there are people in today's world, especially with the spotlight that NAR and lawsuits and all that have put on us. And there's 27,000 podcasts telling you how to screw agents over, right? So you have to be very, very careful. So what I do is I just tell people the truth, because what matters is not today. What matters is when those lawyers get involved later and they want to make something up. What I learned in the 5 years that I was litigating a big real estate development deal, I was deposed for 24 hours, 3 8-hour days under the lights, like a Unitarian, but the dissidents in North Korea or something, no offense, North Korea. Anything goes. Facts don't matter. You can make shit up. People is life. So what we do is we just try to mitigate them from attacking us with lies. I don't think there's any bad people. I don't think if there's a bad person here, I'd fire them. I don't want to be around them. Unethical, cheaters, liars. I don't want to be around them. We all make mistakes. We all go fast. We all miss things. We all trust me. You know, I had that one lawsuit, and you know what our premium went from? $37,000 a year to guess what they wanted to. $200,000 in one case. Right now I'm losing. I would like the E&O to be paid by the agents that it's covering, wash it out. So but I'm losing right around $3,000. I got it thanks to her down to $47,000. I also just recently talked to another attorney and settled another case that the person's not here anymore, but we settled. There's a good example of disclosure. It was just disclosure. There's a little mistake. Cost my insurance company $125,000. $5,000 deductible, had the agent pay it.
So lean on Marcia, so you do stuff right.
You don't want the stress. Blanca works in a law firm. It's no fun, huh? No fun. By the time you get to court, you lose. So anyway, these are some things. Form 17, I wanted to have a conversation about how to have a conversation. Does anybody like I've struggled trying to get people to do the Form 17 correctly. Does anybody else have that problem? You can, right? Well, we can't fill it. We're all pretty clear on that. That's massive level. Don't do that. But you have to be patient with the people and you have to do it with them. Like just keep putting it back in front of them. And tell them this. How would you feel if you have a 30-day closing, cash deal? How would you feel on the 29th day and you packed up your entire house and you've already got the movers coming and you've already bought another dream home and you're moving to see your grandkids or whatever you're doing for your new job. And then the 29th day, they change their mind and they get all their earnest money back because you missed one box. That's what can happen. That's one thing that can happen. How would you feel if you sell your house, you move to Tennessee, you take up guitar playing, you're in Nashville, right about the time you get that big record deal, you get sued because they make something up about your house because they have got a divorce and they both got lawyers that are sharks and they're both blaming each other. And they're going to say, you forgot to tell them something about the house, like the plumbing leak, and you didn't tell them. And you can't prove it because you left it blank. And you lose. And you don't get a national record deal. Because you have to come back to the ones. These are real life kind of things. Like that's why you just have to slow down in the listing and keep putting it back in front of you. And you should read it and understand it, because it's the most powerful form we use. When someone comes to me and we work for them, one client or an agent and says, hey, my guy wants to own this deal. I don't know how. That's the first thing I look at.
I think also, with electronic signatures, again, same point as earlier, that can just get passed down, right? Like, here's a blank form 17, fill it out and sign it and get it back to me, and then everything gets missed there, and even more opportunities for liabilities.
Yeah, you just gotta slow down. Everything's online. Skip's exactly right. We get in such a hurry.
What's the habit of just passing it off electronically instead of really doing more of a face-to-face, kind of old school, if you will?
Yeah, 100%, 100%. And here's the thing, guys, become storytellers. Yeah, Vanessa.
Can I say that what I've seen so far is that page 5, there is nothing, it's hard to notice the asterisk, but if we see yes getting asterisk, that's what's getting missed the most. Is that the client's not putting that all together and reading it carefully enough to know that they have to explain it regardless if they fill the line in underneath. It says, if you're an irrigation, what irrigation system is it? And you put yes, and you put Millerdale irrigation. You still have to go to page 5, put that 5B that was asterisk
See, I've
and
always
re-explain it.
hung up on that part, cause if it says explain
You
further.
have to still put it on page 5, just from my experience with Marcia and what I've seen come back again.
Cause why would they put a line if you need to go to the other page anyways? That,
Who
those
knows?
certain ones, that's always
Yeah.
confusing.
It doesn't really make
Well,
sense and it is confusing,
For
but I
those,
mean,
I'll put C, whatever, so you can refer back to the
Well,
line that
This is a
states what
paragraph.
it is.
Doesn't it say if there's an asterisk, you must, explain further, and if you need more space, put it on page 5, because that tells me that I can just fill in the line,
Masha?
you know?
So if they have a good explanation and it's not on page 5, I don't send it back. But if it is an asterisk and a yes, and there's no explanation, then I stop. I just say it's incomplete. I do tell you where the lines are.
Here's the general rule. Disclose, 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 disclose.
Ask a question. So, I had a seller once, the question about are there CC&Rs? So they put no. I got the prelim back, saw there were CC&Rs. Am I able to say like, hey, go back to this line, it looks like there are? Because that's kind of telling them how to answer it. But I want them to go back and do it right.
Yeah, if it's a factual statement, if it's factual, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, just like if a seller says, hey, man, I had these pipes broken, but I just kind of like blocked it and then I put some new sheetrock up. Don't tell anybody. That doesn't work. You gotta tell the state, like, you won't take the listing. This goes to this point. Anybody had a rough client in this business? But they're on crack cocaine and violent and they're like Genghis Khan, the descendant. I'm interviewing you also. Get used to that paragraph in the meeting. I want you to know, Aaron, gotta love you, but I'm here to interview you, just like you should be here to interview me, right?
That's a great thing.
And then we have to have a solid relationship, whether we're in a romantic relationship, a friendship relationship, a business relationship. Wouldn't it be fair that we treat each other with respect and dignity and we don't belittle each other, we're honest with each other? These are important components, right?
Yep.
So I have to interview you too. And I'm gonna walk away if I don't feel comfortable. Is that okay with you? Like you can get that open. And you know what? They will appreciate that. Again, just take a deep breath, slow down, and just know that you want the best for them and you're assuming they want the best for you, but we have to communicate this. How many times have you guys heard me talk, you've heard it, unmet expectations. Unmet expectations.
I'll memorize that by now.
On the inside, unmet expectations lead to what? Hurt feelings, disappointment. On the outside, they lead serial killers, litigation. Vengeance. It's not good. It's horrific. And there's a big range in there, but it's usually because we don't have this. We made this assumption that we have. Again, I'm learning about that when I'm married. Don't make these assumptions. about some things, like don't talk shit about the government. It's out of my way. That's important. Berpta, Marcia, would you like to explain what you're seeing a lot and how we can help?
Because this is a federal form, you must make sure that your boxes are checked. And so even the one that says at the address, that's line 10, or am not, those are the two areas that I see. Because they always sign them.
Yeah, it's going too fast.
Can I ask something on that? So I've had a title, an escrow officer tell me they don't even use the forms we send, they use their own. So we just do it to cover our bases? Okay.
It's a.
We're not gonna rely on a title company to do our job.
You know, if,
They're backup though.
if I bought your house and you said you were not an alien, and you are, I have to pay that. So for me, for my buyers, I want to make sure that they understand that this is really important. That's why I like to initial it, but it isn't returned if it's not initial. It's just, those are the areas that I see. It's so silly. And it's all about just taking a breath.
Yeah.
And
Just
doesn't the-
look at this. I
I
had
believe-
somebody submit a form that was half signed. So the buyer signed it or the sellers or vice versa or something. And they called me up and they were very upset. And I said, okay, well, next time I'll let yours go through. And if yours get audited, then the fine that Russ pays, then it's okay. You'll pay. Yeah. And he said, don't talk to me like I'm 7. Well, stop acting like this.
100%. Is that me? I'm on a radar.
Everybody's
I'm on a radar.
Look, I will say without mentioning anybody's name, Jim. Has improved so much.
He has hired Vanessa.
You do, you get the most improved.
Doesn't leverage.
He still
I
has a way
got
to
the
go,
leverage
but he's
deal,
not.
that's right.
All right, so let's keep moving. The last, is Form 50 and Form 51. They never are used together.
Remind me again, which is.
Form 50 is when you have a disapproval and you want to give instructions to escrow on where to send the earnest. When you see a Form 50 and a 51 coming in simultaneously, that's never been.
What's the
It's a
51?
51 rescission.
51 is the etch a sketch the deal, like it never have to. You know what etch a sketch is?
That's from like Form 17 though, right?
No, Form 51 is a rescission agreement, but it's a rescission agreement that erases everything that happened up until that point. There's no deal. You never really use that form unless you clear it with me, because it's a dangerous form to use. Form 50 is when you have an inspection addendum and then you have a 35R and you disapprove the inspection and then you attach a 50 with the disapproval, or a 90 and a feasibility. So you have a contingency, then you have a disapproval of a contingency, and then you have the Form 50 that is the instructions to escrow and where to send the earnest.
And there's a generic
But they also
92.
want- But in addition to that, they want the authorization to disperse.
That's 50.
That's the 50, so, okay.
Would 51 be used, like, let's say it's pretty close to closing and there's a family emergency on the seller side or the buyer side, and everybody's like, oh, it's fine, we understand, we're not gonna try to keep your earnest money, we understand that emergencies happen, that kind of thing?
Yeah, and then if it's, you use a 51 if you're terminating because of Form 17.
Is that-
51 is also, no, it's a 90. I'm looking at, for the Form 17, the 90.
You can use that, but I mean, when you look at,
90A is for rescission of agreement pursuant to Form 17.
yeah, you can use that, but I mean,
The different.
I'll have to look at that for sure, but that's, termination is, it didn't work out. Rescission is, it never happened.
So can you use the 51, like if you put in an offer, but before the sellers agree and sign it and your buyer backs out, you can use the 51 to say.
There's a
"Never mind, we didn't
withdrawal
close off."
of
Oh,
those.
what is that, a 36A or?
Yeah, I
It's
think
one
something
of
like
those.
that.
Withdrawal of offer counter.
Yeah.
Okay, yep.
But if they change their mind and you do the rescission, like it never happened, etch a sketch, then what happens with the earnest money? Are we acting like?
That's when you
earnest
put
money
the
was never a
50,
thing?
that's when you put the
But he's
50.
saying don't use the
No,
50
no.
and 51 at the same
On
time.
the 51.
51
it's
has it.
instruction.
Oh, it does.
Oh,
yes.
Yes, it does. Okay.
Haley, how you feeling?
She's gonna, I don't know if I should have came today.
So fun. You don't have.
The good news is I've been doing this for 34 years and I'm still learning every day.
So 51 is after March 1st, 50 is your go-to.
And
50
50
plus the
financing too. If you got asked to remove your financing and you weren't in a position to,
Yeah.
then you'd respond with both. Not that anybody ever asked us to remove our financing.
Yeah.
When in doubt, just ask Marcia.
Marcia's the best managing broker I've seen in my career. You see, I met a lot of them. She's damn good. Damn, good. I'm very lucky.
And my backup is Tom, so 50 years of contracts.
Let's see.
What's the little place for it? Reminds me of the Lorax or
So,
Dr. Seuss.
What? It was like the penalty box.
Except for like a 23, buying a manufactured home on leased land. Title review is an absolute must,
Mhm.
yes. And that's in the best practice. And then also if it's a residential, homeowners, a BV.
Yeah, let me ask you guys this. Why wouldn't, it's not so much now, but back when rates were 2% and had 100 buyers for every seller. Which I understood, I mean, that was a weird time when you 50 offers an hour and all that. So let's pretend that didn't happen. Now, why would you use a title contingency form and a feasibility contingency and all these other contingencies? Why would you do that?
You don't know when the title company is gonna actually get you the title report, especially in Okanagan County. So if you're past your other contingencies, then you still need a way if there's weird stuff on the title report.
That's partly true. At the end of the day, it's a conversation. It's like what Skip was saying, we have to slow down. And we believe that the people that we're talking to, I don't know if this happens to you guys, that happens to me all the time. I think they understand what I'm saying to them, but they don't. And they don't ask me any questions. You understand? Mm-hmm. And they don't understand a damn thing I say. We do it every day. They don't. They might do it once every 7 years. La, 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 all they hear is la, 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 sign here. So you have to pull out of the body of the purchase and sale agreement and focus them in. Literally, I was on the task force to rewrite the law for 3 out of the 7 years, called RCW 1885 Rewrite Committee. And it was all about simply taking the first one page for all of the transactions. Hey, Julie. Julie, that's Bailey. And making everybody focus on each individual topic. So why attorney review addendum? Why title addendum? Why all these extra addendums? Well, it's simply just so you can tell them you went over it with them and then you slow down and you explain it to them, then they sign it. Then if they don't understand, which they probably don't a lot of the times, they can't go hire the leg breaker lawyer to come sue you for misrepresentation, because that word misrepresentation is easy to sue.
Should we really then, after putting an email like 22A, 22D, this is what this means, I told, like, the whole shebang?
You bring up a good point. When you have a conversation, verbally,
Recap it in writing.
here's a
As long as
great,
it's legal.
here's a great way to cover, you know what CYA stands for, right?
Cover your ass.
Cover your, Fanny. That's what I have. Per our conversation on the phone, I told you about this, we talked about this. Da, 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 da. It's not a question, it's just a statement. And then when they make something up, because they're getting divorced, and everybody's mad at everybody, and everybody's got lawyers, everybody's fighting for everything, you're a target just by the fact that you're a realtor and that you're in the game. So they're gonna unwind their investments, and then they're gonna start blaming people with insurance companies. The truth is not relevant in litigation. Let that sink in for me. The truth does not matter. What matters? Let me tell you the truth, what matters in court, in the real world, is who has more money. That's what matters. A millionaire should never sue a billionaire. And a hundredaire, is that a thing? Should never sue a millionaire. Because if you have enough lawyers and you have enough accusations, you know, in my case, I had 300,000 emails and 100,000 text messages in scope. Nowhere did it say what I was being accused of. Did it matter? And in all of those emails, there was one email that I did kind of what I am telling you guys to do. I put it in there. You gotta be careful not saying it. Come on, okay. That saved me. Because it was in writing. And it gave me permission to do exactly what they said I could. So it's important. So anytime you have a conversation, slow down. What did we just say? And again, at the end of the day, if you're an entrepreneur and you're not having fun, then you should think about getting a different job. Because you gotta love the chase. In this game, the anticipation of success is much, much greater than success itself. This is a game that's afoot all the time.
And don't forget to upload your communications.
Yeah, I mean, the law says that we have to have all the emails, all the text messages, everything. The transaction file has to be, you have to be able to go get it. And then they're gonna subpoena it. They're gonna wanna see those things. They're gonna want, where are they? What phone did you have before that phone? What phone did you have before that phone? I mean, it's intense. Do you know what an expert letter costs these days? Just to have an expert opinion? That's not covered by insurance, by the way.
I don't even know what that is.
So I have an expert that says, this is the truth about this law. Like, some expert witness that comes to testify on your behalf. The average letter is between 10 and 15,000.
How do you get that job?
Yeah.
But I think you speak right, though, you know, Skip and I talk a lot. Like, I mean, I barely know. Truthfully, you know, you're always going, I gotta read that form again.
Mhm.
But we'll run into people who think they know, and they don't know jack shit, right?
Marcia knows.
But their idea, but they're setting it up, you know, those are the people, they're not, right, you know, if you don't know, just ask. I mean, that's.
Yeah,
if you're
and
new
it's
to-
okay. There's
just
two
ask.
things, Jeff, that's a beautiful point. That's what I was telling you, Bill. I'm still learning every day. There's two types of people in the world. There's knowers and learners.
I've been in the business 20 years.
Knowers are perfectly prepared, usually, for a world that no longer exists. I played football in 1987. Okay, well, that's cute. Yeah, I mean, it's tough because the more, I tell this, and I'm dead serious. You know, when I was the smartest I've ever been in my life, in real estate, like a genius.
The day you started.
I was 21. I got dumber every year after.
Totally.
And it's just because you know what you don't, you just know that there's more that you don't know than you thought. If you ever have teenage kids, I had a teenager that turned into the doctor, like I said, audiology, and she was pretty smart. She always told me I didn't know what I was doing because I was a parent, right? And I said, one day I said, I have two things to tell you, Tim. So I have a question. When you were 5, were you smarter than when you were 1? Yeah. Okay. Well, when you were 10, were you smarter than you were, I think he was like 14 or 15, she was a teenager. Out there where they get kidnapped by aliens.
I know. that
Body's
well.
still there, but something's gone. She came back about 20, but I did that and she finally figured out where I was going. And she said, that's not what it is to me. So she figured it out. And then I said, here's the other thing, kid. I now know why you know everything in your world. Because your world's this big. But the real world is this big.
Yeah.
Now, even when I was saying that, I didn't realize that I was talking about myself.
Totally.
Because, you know, I thought I knew everything. I was 21 when I had that kid. So, you know, it's one of those things, once you run across those people that just, you don't need to argue with them, just prove it to them. Or you can come to me or Marcia, and I can talk to the designated broker at the other company, you know. But you often can just, because everything's in writing, you can just kind of show them. And does everybody know in Northwest MLS on the, is it the left side of the form, or the right side has the definitions of what that form does.
Oh, and express forms,
And express them.
Manual? Yeah.
Manual about each one.
So just kill them with logic and kill them with information. Don't get into a, you know, an argument over, you know, and then you sit down with your client and you have your client, you're in charge of your client, and then you just go back. And until you get mutual acceptance, you don't have mutual acceptance. So if you get this stuff that's all crossed out, do you know how many times I've just rewrote the entire deal?
Yeah.
Maybe clean.
Because that's old school, like cross everything out and initial it. But that precedent is so clear not to do that anymore. Right, so there's an example. Okay, let's get to this real quick, 'cause I've held you guys a while. But I'm gonna do it once a month. That's good news.
Twice.
Uh,
Oh,
The second time is training.
yeah.
Well, his is twice.
Okay, guys, here's the thing. I'm gonna go to you. Can you put a web, can you put that on the screen? Can you put the screen on?
Yeah, what am I putting on?
Just type in,
Am I going to the cell?
Cindy, yeah, YACINDEWAPTO. Sure, I don't, I can't spell out loud. There's never a spelling bill.
What is that letter?
That's a D.
Okay.
So we have this, Cindy's gonna get into it, I'll pull it up. We just got a $20 million listing at Wapato Point. They fired this company called Windermere, you might have heard of it. Anyway, they fired them and they hired us. And we have 21 full share condos right on the water that are brand new, being built as we speak. And we're gonna have opportunities to do on-site sits there and a whole bunch of marketing that we're putting together. And I charge them 5% on all $21 million. As an example. So there's a way.
charge them 2.5 and you're offering 2.5.
Yes.
To the
right. I mean. So anyway, Cindy and I are working that project together and it's an amazing opportunity if you're interested in learning about it, but here's what happens in Lake Chelan. How many people sell in Lake Chelan now?
Every once in a while.
Everybody should sell in Lake Chelan. You know why?
That's awesome.
Because people are wealthy. Interest rates don't matter. And guess what the commissions are on $1 million?
3%.
Right? So if we have an opportunity, Wapato Point is a resort. Do you know what the greatest marketing in history was? It was the 3 Bs. Beer, beach, and bikini. When people are having fun and they're drinking beer and they're on a boat and their kids aren't fighting and they're getting along with their spouse, they want to duplicate that. Right? Anybody bought a timeshare in Mexico that they shouldn't have bought? I don't know. Because I love Mexico. I love it. It's a great thing. I want to duplicate that. I want to be there every day. Well, that's a great time to meet people. And guess what? They're not going to do all the time. They're not going to buy the condo. But you know what they are going to buy? A waterfront home for $4 million. A 20-acre lot above Chelan. So it's drag netting a captured audience all summer long. That's how you sell real estate in 2020. If you want to participate in those.
Yeah, okay, so first question, who does open houses? Who has actually closed deals that walked in, buyers off the street from an open house? Yeah, so there's a real thing. So being an on-site agent at Yacindy, in the model unit that's gonna be open, beautifully staged, gorgeous place overlooking the lake to work. I wanna be there like 2 or 3 days a week this summer, that's my plan. If you would also like to be there with the potential to represent buyers as they're coming through, seeing it, please let me know. We're gonna have a training session about this. You've got to be up to speed with Yacindy, the project. We just got corrected on how to say it, so we're still remembering that. The history of Lake Chelan in general, the area, the culture of our area, you have to be, you know, that expert on the project in the area. And also the sales techniques that we're going to be going over. So the 7-step showing process, connecting with the buyer, you know, personally, all of that are things that we're going to get trained on, and you'll have to be certified with Russ and I to be those on-site sales agents. But that's a great opportunity, beautiful place to be. And, you know, yeah.
Yeah, there's no rules there. It's a sovereign nation. It's an Indian land. So it's not fee simple title, which makes it a challenge. So that's one of the things we gotta educate people on. But literally, like it's a resort. You can walk around with a beer, you can go down to the boat. There's no setbacks, no built, I mean, it's like going back 40 years.
There's no taxes.
There's no real estate
Yeah.
taxes. The dues are gonna be less than Grandview. If you know Grandview, it's an older condo town. It's, what this guy did, is, timeshares were tanked, right? So he went and got all the timeshares and he took these 6 buildings, he bought the people out. Almost all of them. There's one building that's now fractional shares that we're not selling, it's already sold. And he just took it down to the studs and he took these timeshares and he revamped the architecture and then he built this basically full share condominiums. That retaining wall is unbelievable. If you look at it from the lake, there's fiber optics through the retaining wall. It's right on the beach. There's a bonfire pit right on the beach. There's a swimming pool right next door. All of Wapato Point amenities are available to you, including an indoor swimming pool, the best beach in the entire lake, one of the only beaches in the entire lake, and, right? So we have now this opportunity to sell to a captured audience every day, all summer long. And those people, just think about it. You know how to sell the unit, of course. And was I very straightforward with them how it works? Like not all those buyers are gonna buy your condos. In fact, one of the things I say to people on projects is one of the ways I sell your product is I don't sell everything else first, unless they want to buy it. And then I bring them back to yours. And I filter those people, and then I give those people with integrity what they're looking for. And guess what? They don't know they're looking for it. Once you have the confidence to understand that you can meet a guy or couple or a girl or whatever on a Tuesday, and they have no intention of buying $1 million place, but that love affair kicks in. And on Thursday, you're showing them real estate, and on Friday, you write a deal, and on Saturday, you got mutual acceptance, you made 50 grand. Once you understand that confidence, you can do it, because that's all it is. It's not complicated. It's easier to do that than it is to sell a first-time home buyer an FHA house. It's just up here. You just have to be educated. You have to be willing to drive 45 minutes to make lots of money and have fun doing what you do for a living. But if you're the person that says, "Oh, 45-minute drive around one of the beautiful Cumberland River," if you're a limiting belief person, then you're not good for this. You need to have fun and enjoy life and understand the history of Wapato Point. My dad was a kid that used to hunt for arrowheads on Wapato Point. The first football field at Manson High School wasn't built in 1952. He helped build it. Before that, they played high school football games at Wapato Point. And you know those stories. You start learning about that area and you'll start selling Chelan real estate. And you know why I know it's a big deal? Because we don't have a very big percentage of what goes on there. And we should. Because we know more than a lot of the people that sell real estate there. They're literally, they seem intimidating, but they're not. There's always room for people that are professional and work hard. And if we can get a bigger market share of Lake Chelan real estate, like we could go get 50, 60, 70% of that. You know how much money you're all making? So you first have to decide if that's what you want to do. And then we're giving you the avenue to not only do it, but educate you. And then from that education, when this project is long gone, when we do a good job, and we sell these 21 condos for this person, we can write our own ticket with all developers. But I need some people that want to do it, right? Like, we can only do so much.
So, yeah, if you do, just send me an email, so I can get a list going, and then our on-site sits start July 1st. So we've got that time to get trained up, and make sure everybody's on board and knows the property, and everything, so.
What's the price point?
There's 2 at 650, 1 at 860, and then most of them are 1.2, 1.3 for 2 and 3 bedroom condos.
Yeah, no real estate taxes and
Super luxurious inside. They're really nice. Like they're the nicest interiors on Lake Chelan as far as condos.
So they were remodeled?
Completely down to the studs, every single utilities.
Who did the remodel?
builder from Seattle. I don't know.
Okay.
They tried to hire some local builders, didn't work out.
No.
Yeah, it's really stunning though. They had a really
That's awesome.
beautiful vision and
And they're great
executed it
people. The
fantastic.
owners are nice people. They're very involved. And it's fun, when I was, you don't have to partake, but it's a resort. When I was in my first real estate company, how many people have heard the 3 to 7 mark? From me talk about 3 to 7? I used to lead generate when I was young, 21, had a bunch of young guys with me, my friends. I said, you can't start lead generating, we call it pizza night, where we start calling people until you have 3 beers. And then you have to stop at 7. You don't have to partake, but I'm just saying. You should see how much sales they did. The hard part is,
Take that job.
yeah.
I take airplane shots with me when I go
Yeah.
knocking.
Yeah, I love it. You told me
You know, just one or two is all you need, just to take the edge off.
it's not for everybody.
Some people do
Yeah,
take mushrooms or something.
I don't think that makes you sober.
Yeah.
You do mushrooms, you're still on the good foot.
Well, I don't drink booze, maybe adaptogens, no. And it's recorded.
A lot of caffeine.
Oh, I love using coffee.
Whatever, some people are just naturally, energetic.
Mhm.
You don't. But it's fun because we're gonna have champagne, we're gonna have the food and beverage aspect, we're gonna have parties and
That's awesome.
we're doing all kinds of marketing stuff. We're putting together events. We have a boat slip at Sunset Marina. Luke's bringing the boat over next week. We're gonna have parties at Sunset Marina Country Club in Chelan to then take people to Yacindy.
Cindy,
Yacindy.
Cindy.
It's well, no, we didn't name it, sorry. One of the things, the Quilliam, like you gotta learn your language. Well, we'll take them out on tours. Back and forth. We can pick people up at Lakeview Drive-In. We have a boat slip there too. So I don't know if you guys have been to Sunset Marina, but it's cool. Let me tell you something about Sunset Marina. That was the last project, like 7 years ago. I did that one. We had it for 2 years, right, Marsh? 2 years. It was a Steve Goodfellow project, but we didn't really deal directly with him. He was half the owner. The guy we had to deal with was also an owner. He was challenging. But we went around to every brokerage and told them, here's what we're building. We're gonna build this $3 million country club. And we're gonna have 168 what's called deep water boat slips. So your boat could be in the water year round. Just so you know, it's important because 95% of the boat slips and marinas are out of the water in Lake Chelan because it goes up and down about 15 feet, 20 feet, other than July 1st to the end of September. Well, the deep water means it floats with the lake. So you can use your boat slip year round. So I went to all the brokerages in Chelan. I met with them with props, told them how to sell it, where it was going to be, what it was going to be. They knew Steve Goodfellow was going to do it right, so it wasn't like that. After we did that whole show, we had a parking lot to work with, and they said we had to sell $10 million worth of slips before they would build it. That was the risk, right? We wrote 115 reservation agreements in 24 months with a parking lot. We averaged about 60, but we got to about 60% appreciation from the beginning price. We closed 96 of those 115, and guess how many we sold in-house at 6% commission. 90. 6 people outside our brokerage sold the slip. So my point is, from experience, I don't think this is going to be any different. I think $20 million times 5% is $1 million. Right? Right. I like $1 million. You guys like $1 million?
I do.
It's literally shooting. So if you're gonna do something, why not make $1 million? That's what I always say. Takes just as much work to make 100 grand as $1 million if you have the right product at the right place at the right time. And here's the key. They don't care you're gonna sell them a waterfront home. They don't care that they're gonna be over here selling acreage. They don't care they don't even care if you sell another condo because they have an abundant mindset. How do they have abundant mindset? Because I sold them on how to think abundantly. Right? You don't let the tail wag the dog. You are the doctor, they are the patient. When you start to believe in your heart of hearts, and you can because you have lots of people around you to help them. So you don't have to have the confidence. Brandon, if you're brand new, just lean into Jeff, lean into Kelly, lean into Aaron, lean into Marsh. You have a team. Now you can have the confidence. Let me check on that. All right. Pretty soon, these projects become in a market where it's otherwise difficult to have what? Inventory. You ever heard the saying, you list, you last? Try to imagine having 4 developments going simultaneously. This is just the first one. It's not ours. We have 4 other massive projects. Pretty soon, if you work this project, you'll be part of a development arm of salespeople that work inventory. Pretty soon, we may not even need the MLS. Pretty soon, things change. Either you're ahead of the curve or you're behind the curve. But what we want is options. We want to be in charge of our own destiny, not the other way around. We're not going to follow people wherever the market goes. We're going to create our own market, our own way. I have an inventory. Okay. That NAR loss. Last thing I promised to talk about. I'm excited about that. That's gonna be fun.
Yeah.
That's gonna be a lot of fun. We have all kinds of circus tents, baby elephants, whatever.
They're out.
The other side.
Sometimes I get shut down. I don't know why. I can make a call to Thailand. Here's my point. $20 million project. We didn't hesitate about it. So we did hesitate. I lied. We talked about it. Obviously, if you can pay no money and get the same result, pay no money and get the same result. So all I have to do is, you think it's going to be the same? Do you think it's going to be the same if you pay no brokers any money to work your product?
No.
I mean, I'm good with it, right? One way I could say, hey, as a brokerage, we're good with it. I'll sell everything. I'll be the listing agent, I'll be the selling agent, and you'll have one person working. And this is how I'm talking to a seller. I'm cool with that. If you only want one person working your product, that's fine. I'm pretty sure nobody's gonna pay the buyers. My opinion is buyers aren't gonna pay buyers agent. Not consistently. So you're gonna lose a lot of buyers. And the MLS basically says that they can't disclose commissions anymore. That's what's gonna happen. So there's no longer gonna be a selling office commission in the MLS. We all have social media, right? We all have websites. KW has a website. I have a website for my frontline team. We can disclose it everywhere else.
It can't be attached to MLS listings.
No, not an MLS, but I can have a website.
But you can call an agent, and go on showing, hey, and I think my client's interested, what's the seller willing to pay?
Yeah, I can say, I'm Russ McClellan. All my listings, I pay 2.5% commission right now. Anybody buys one of my commissions, and I can email that to every broker. It just can't be in the MLS. It's a stupid rule, Mike.
Yeah, what's the MLS for, right?
No, that's why I said maybe the MLS goes away. I mean, who knows where we're heading in this world?
Yeah.
Who knows? But I could, why don't we have our own
Well,
MLS?
especially when like the whole thing is about disclosure and it's like, oh, we're gonna disclose it everywhere besides the MLS, which is where the disclosure should be legally listed.
Our
It's
subject
fine.
can make it much harder.
You know, it's funny, it reminds me of when I got into business, yeah, you're right. And when I got into business, they said, when you first got your license, you were an agent. And then if you got your broker's license, you were a broker. And then if you became a managing broker or designated broker, and they're like, we gotta make this less complicated, so let's call everybody brokers instead of agents. Like, how that just makes it more confusing. Like, now everybody's a broker. Day one, you're a broker. What about day 1,000? You're still a broker? Like, I don't get it. So sometimes, nobody ever accused the government of being like efficient in their decision. It's not really how it works. Here's the thing. I'm toying with a brokerage model, and I don't know what the right answer is. And I'd love you guys to ponder it, think about it. We have a few more months before any of this really might come down. Department of Justice has kind of thrown up some red flags because not that long ago, they sued to make sure we disclose the commission. So they're like, wait a minute, this settlement makes no sense. So the DOJ but guess what? Attorneys made $80 million. And so.
And the sellers made what? $100?
$10 a piece.
Yeah, how does that fly?
Yeah, we have bigger issues.
Yeah.
But I don't know, guys. I mean, as a brokerage, try to tell me, like, again, when it comes back to, I'm interviewing you. The seller said, I don't want to pay a broker fee. I said, okay, well, let's talk it through. Do you think I could sell them all myself? Do you think I'm that good? I appreciate that. I like your confidence in me. How much money are you gonna spend on marketing? I need a couple $100,000 a month. You okay with that? If you want me to do that, I'm just saying. We gotta make up for it somehow. I gotta get something. I gotta figure out something. So when you talk to a seller and you're interviewing them, don't let them just push you around. Don't be like needy. Be the professional. I mean, if you walked into a doctor's office and you go, you know what, doc, here's the thing. These are my symptoms. I think I need a shot of this and I need a little bit of that and I need you to give me this and go ahead, do that, give it to me. And he goes, yeah, okay, you got it.
Well, my mom does that and he agrees.
Yeah, yeah, their own doctor.
Yeah, 100%.
You know why I know that? Because I'm not one, right?
I think that is the ignorance though, right? We assume they don't know nothing.
Yeah.
I mean, they don't know shit.
No, so you have to educate.
That's
Slow down.
basically where you gotta go. I mean, I just had an instance, I was telling her with an attorney, I mean, it literally like, I wasn't prepared.
Mhm.
Does that make sense?
Mhm.
So, you know, you're gonna go through these, you guys, and then you're gonna get, you gotta learn to go, okay, I didn't make it. I didn't get across the goal line, but god damn, I'm gonna be prepared the next one.
I call that wisdom through starts issue.
Like,
Intelligence
that
and wise are different things, right? There's a lot of intelligent people that aren't very wise. Wisdom comes from that experience. That's how you learn. You know, 5 years of litigation I went through. You guys ever been to Post? For 8 hours straight? That's a lot of fun. They come at you like the assassins they think they are, right? The good news is I knew the material more than they did. So
Do you get snacks at least?
No, they weaken you.
Bright lights and no water, no food.
Oh, I
I
would
have to go
need
to
that.
meetings.
So my,
I've seen everybody, okay?
my only question is, you have the smallest bladder in the world. How did that work?
so what's to my advantage on Zoom? And I had a knee surgery. Oh, my knee. I didn't know a question. Oh, my knee. I got a block from it. Hey, what do I say? There's a game within a game everywhere.
Yeah.
And my dad used to say, I don't drink water. I can't get enough work done. I'm like, this. And but now I'm like, oh, man, I get it. I talked to Cindy. We need RoboCop stuff. Catheters built into the desk.
Yeah, he told me to put one in my desk so that I don't have to get up to go to the bathroom. I can just go and it goes through this pipe into the wall and then it's like, yeah, whatever.
Business model, plumbing. At every desk.
All right, so my next question is, what have you been smoking?
Yeah,
No, I meant about that.
about the catheter.
Oh. I'm just in the comments. I'm just trying to figure out how to make more money. 168, I need more hours. I personally need more hours in the day that I don't have. Cause I want not just one thing, I want all of them. Cause I enjoy the game that much. It's not that I'm greedy, it's not about the money. I just wanna win. Like when I was talking to the seller yesterday, we had lunch. They were like, oh, you're gonna make a lot of money. And they don't know, I don't know if they believe me or not, but I don't give a shit about it. I just wanna win. I just wanna show the world that our team can sell all these overnight. Like, if we do that, then we get another one. If we get that, we get another one. So I'd rather sell these, all these in one day and then go get another project, go do another one. Let's go. And they'd sell them all right now, believe me, they would they're at the end of their, like, this has been a long run to get to this point. And there's still, these buildings are not all done yet, so it's gonna be over a year that they're building them. But as you do a good job, you can do a good job for more people. And you stop thinking about like limiting beliefs, you start thinking in abundance. You start believing in yourself. And that's the difference between the people that don't do well and the people that do well. It's really not anything else. It's just about having the confidence to know that you got backup. Without, you call for help, you got backup. And there's really, unless you lie, cheat, steal, there's really not too many things we can't overcome. And you follow our best practices, they're there for a reason. Once you do that, you just work ethic. This is a contact sport, guys. I'll say it every time I talk to Aaron, I have lunch with him. The 3-foot rule. Just anytime, like right now, baby, that's the message. She's within 3 feet. You gotta tell her you're real bro. I might as Bailey, and I'm not gonna screw you over. I'm real bro. I mean, whatever you want to say, I don't care. But if you just talk to everybody within your sphere all day long, when I was sitting with Aaron at Pybus, I mean, we should do this. We should have competition. I can go get 3 buyers in the next half hour just of these people that I see. I bet you could. I bet you could. I bet anybody could. Because it's not complicated. It's not easy. It's not that complicated to tell people what you do for a living. How can I help you? Use me as a resource. You know anybody that wants to buy, sell, or invest in real estate? These are very easy scripts. Go to work at Enterprise Rental Car. You want to see a hard script? Go ask them hey, what do you have to rent? And they will flow out of their mouth verbatim what they've been taught. That's why they're really good people to recruit, because they know how to like memorize scripts like it's theirs. And this one is really simple. I'm in real estate, and you know anybody wants to buy or sell? Simple. I'm gonna keep following this guy, and at some point we might have a policy, some point we might not, but in general, this is a good example. I got 21 listings. What are you gonna give me on the deal? I'm not gonna charge you 10%. How about 5? Well, that's what you were gonna, I know, I just thought you wanted to feel good. I'm gonna charge you what I'm worth. That's what I'm gonna charge. Well, I don't think you're worth it. Okay, well, I'm interviewing you. Do you want me to try to convince you, or are we done? This isn't a negotiation. Once you get that value proposition down like that, you can talk like that. Right? I mean, another example I'd like to share with you is the reason I got involved in this particular deal is the person that loaned him the money, private money lender. I've been helping for 20 years with asking nothing in return. For 20 years, he's asked me for favors. Just like appraisers, when they ask you for information, here's my advice, give it to them. Stop what you're doing, give appraisers the information they're looking for. Don't ask them any questions, just do what they ask. Why would I do that? I don't get anything in return. Because you have an abundant mindset, not a scarcity mindset. So when this person loaned a bunch of money and he's noticing some weird things that are happening, like our agent won't print flyers, something like that, it's like, whoa, you should call Russ. Well, you think that 20 years of maybe once a year, I sent him some comps or something, like it wasn't a big deal. And now we have $1 million on the line. All because I was nice, professional, open, approachable. That's how this business works, because what Jeff said earlier is so true. People don't know what they don't know. And I made fun of myself the other day when Des was, I shared this with people who were here last time, but I got too busy one day, which is normal, I guess. But the guy asked me to go look at his house. I went to look at his house. I go, all right, it'll be $750,000. There's a listing agreement. I'm Russ McClellan, sign right there. And he didn't sign it.
Get out of my house.
And I go, what happened? There's where he goes, that wasn't your best work. I go, oh, I didn't say anything. I just was an arrogant ass. Oh. The difference is I knew I was an arrogant ass. And we get that way sometimes. We get spread too thin. We get in too big a hurry. So it's not being an arrogant ass that's the big deal. It's like, what do I do next? You know, so realizing that I did not treat his time with respect. I was like, my time's more important than your house. That's how I act. And it reminded me when my dad had a stroke and I was like fighting neurosurgeons in Harborview and ICU, and this doctor, the head guy, kept coming in and making accusations that he was non-responsive, which is a big story. And he was so fast, he never saw that my dad was actually exercising and doing things. He just saw him sleeping. So he was going to force him into a nursing home. And I wasn't having that. So I started videotaping, but I got into his grill and I said, look, and that HR and security and some other things happened, but I was like,
It's a fun day.
I was like, you think your time's more valuable than his time. That's what I have a problem. And then I went ahead and did the same thing. So I've never forgot that. Like when I get like that, I have to, my 911 is not your 911. And once you realize those kind of basic principles of selling real estate, you can go from Bailey to number one. You can be 50 million years. Because it's not like you have to jump 4 feet off the ground and run a 4-flat 40-yard dash. Anybody can do it. It's just doing it. Like just you decide to do it and you can do it. And again, it's not easy, but nothing is, right? Nothing's easy. Pick your suck. Because working at the library sucks too. You know, working for the government sucks. Working at every job, you know, whatever. I love what I do. If you don't love what you do, you should look for something else because you should be happy. You should go find what makes you happy. And I think we're gonna see this, guys. We're gonna see a culling of the herd, culling of the real estate herd. And the people that have projects and inventory are gonna make it. And the people that love their jobs and love their life are gonna make it. Not that it's not full of stress, it is, but the story you tell yourself can change. It can be negative or positive. It's all about what you tell yourself inside your own head. And when you press envelopes, it's natural to feel stress. But pretty soon you realize the world's gonna keep spinning no matter what. And you're not defined by your success or defined by your failure. What you might be defined by is you're not trying. If you're not working and you're bitching, if you don't do anything and you wonder why nothing's happening, and then you go complain to Kelly, so they just cut you loose. Like, I want to be around people that I want to be around. And you should too. And you're all very, very capable. Everybody in this company is capable of doing whatever they want. So I'm excited. I mean, I think adversity breeds clarity if you let it. I think the opportunity is in the challenge. And I personally love the idea that we can separate our company from the herd. I don't think anybody else is having these kind of conversations, even once a month. Do you? Maybe. Good for them if they are. We should recruit them. Am I missing anything, Sid?
I don't think so.
Skip, do you have anything? Any other?
Oh, just maybe you could explain a little more about, training people to be on site. I mean, because I always preach, that, not that I do it all the time, but this part of this conversation that, that open houses are just an amazing way. I mean, work 3 hours a week every Sunday and then you'd make a decent living, right? If you just did that. But you guys are like open house platform on steroids.
Totally, yeah.
So could you talk a little more about, training people or?
Yeah,
what you're
totally. So
looking
I mean,
for?
for my time, I'm gonna wanna do it in a group as much as possible. But I can also just provide material, but we're gonna want to see people able to talk, expertly about the area. After we've shown them the condo and the HOA and everything, you're gonna want people to be able to talk about that, in a way that's very positive and friendly and, informative. So that's what we're gonna be training on.
When are you gonna do that?
I'm gonna get a schedule together,
Okay.
yeah. Mhm.
We're hoping to
So
launch by
once I know
Memorial Day.
who is interested, then I'll like kind of rally and.
And do you have a minimum requirement? I mean, would you take a person that just wanted to do once a week and find people that want to do 3 times a week and mix
Well, I mean,
and
there's only
match
7
or?
days a week, right? And we're expecting it to be
Yeah.
kind of like, like probably a 6-hour, kind of.
You're gonna do 7 hour,
I think so.
or
Yeah.
excuse me, 7
Well, we
days a
haven't,
week?
it depends on how many people we've
Yeah.
got too. I mean, we've committed to the sellers that we will do at least 4 or 5, I don't remember. But between Russ and me and Des, who are all trained up and ready to go, we know we can cover that. And then however many extra people we have, we can fill that out even more.
You bring an extra person or 2 for
Yeah.
weekends kind of thing.
Yeah, and everybody, goes on vacation and stuff like that, so definitely the more the merrier, even if you wanna do once a month.
And just realize this is there's a lot of timeshares out there, so there's a revolving group. Like every Friday is a changeover. So what you had this group on site, there's hundreds and hundreds of people, if not thousands. See ya. Then that group leaves and a new group comes. And in addition to that, we're driving people to the place through marketing. And then in addition to that, we'll have like a circus style tent and we'll have the big barbecue and things that we did like Sunset Marina. In addition to that, we're doing seminars. We have a restaurant called the Twisted Cork, which is right on the way to Opera Point, that we've kind of cut a deal where we can do, I have a PowerPoint that says gonna help me get into the 21st century. And it basically still is applicable today that I've used for 20 years. It just talks about the history of the Lake Chelan Valley. Where were we? How did we get to here? Where are we? And based on things like supply constraints, and demographic shifting, and technology, and supply and demand, where are we going as a place to invest? And why would this be a good investment? And I bring in the vehicles, the products that we sell inside of that umbrella. And it's a fun little presentation. I've given it 100 times. And I'll show things like the Judy Jane Bakery one day. It's not all good. And then that goes away and there's Starbucks. You know Judy Jane, right? Or Green's Drug Store, and then boom, there's Remax. I'm just kidding. So that you can see the town, these old pictures of the town and how we kind of got to where we're at, the apples to the grapes, the warehouses to the tasting rooms. And all of a sudden, when it's like a little history lesson. And then people realize that, oh, wow, 88% of the land in Chelan County is owned by the government. That's kind of a very powerful built-in conservancy. And I'll go look at that slide. That's called Slide Ridge. See where the mountain caved in? All of that is public land, and it always will be. How's that sound? You see that right there? That's Pyramid Peak. It's an 8,100-foot elevation. Do you know it's the deepest, was the third deepest gorge in North America? I heard a little stat that they said I'm gonna change that, but I'll just keep saying it. Third deepest gorge in North America, from 8,100 feet to 1,100 feet below the lake. It's 1,500 feet deep. It's 55 miles long. Stehekin, another Indian name, Native American name, at the end of the lake. Yasindi, Native American name. The Wapato Indians, where did they come from? Where are they? What's happening? What is this? When you capture an audience about that, and then you go, there's 21. And you can never build this close to the lake again, anywhere, except here. There are some things here that make this so powerful, they should go like that. But in addition to that, some people will say, well, I don't like leaseholds, you know, it's not, I can't own title, so I don't want to do that, but I'll go, I love what you just told me. I love the idea of investing. I love the idea of appreciation and using something. Oh, and by the way, these are all vacation rentals that the county can't stop. That's a big deal.
How much of a discount do you think there is for the leased land? Like if you were gonna come, you know, because that might be a pitch, right?
Mhm.
You know, if this wasn't leased land, you'd be paying 500,000 more for the dirt.
At least.
You know, I mean, that
And
might be,
real estate taxes on
that
top
might
of
be
it.
a great pitch, right?
Mhm. Yeah, and they just moved it from 56 years left on the lease to 99, I believe. So we're getting all that documentation. But you're right, Skip. In addition to that,
Yeah.
because it's leasehold land, you have no excise tax. You have a 3.5% transfer tax that goes to the Native American tribe. But you have no real estate taxes. You have an HOA, but the HOA is literally incredibly affordable.
So what does that mean? You have, I mean, so I buy one of those, but I can still sell it, right?
Mhm.
So I wouldn't, there would be no excise tax at sale,
Transfer tax, 3.5% versus 1.78%.
so more,
More, but you have no real estate tax.
okay.
And if you got a waterfront condo on real estate, you're gonna pay 20, like if you have something like that, you'll pay 15, 20 grand a year in tax,
Feel like property tax.
property tax.
Yeah.
So to really kind of have a comparison,
Mhm.
I think would be a real strong, you know,
Well, and that's part of the training,
yeah.
is knowing how the product
Yeah.
compares to what else is available on the market. And that will be, you know, in person going to see, preview the other condos, so we can have that visceral knowledge of like, oh my gosh, did you see it? Laminate countertops and like. blah, blah, blah.
I mean, I love it, but you know, I'm an impulsive buyer there and I fall in love with it. And I go, wow, you know, I can buy one of these, you know, there's only X amount of them. Or or if I didn't, my alternative would be to buy the same product on land for X and incur all these additional costs.
If you could find it.
Yeah, so, I mean, all of that, right?
I mean, literally the
Yeah.
setback is like here,
Oh.
wall, beach, water. And a dock and a pot and a fire pit and a swimming pool behind you. I mean, this is what I said, try to, they're worried about like some of the amenities weren't up to snuff, like there's a putt-putt golf course for the kids. But I looked at them like, they're just hard on themselves. I go, you know what sells it? I grab a beer in my hand out of my refrigerator. I put a beer in my pocket. I walk down to the pool. I'm drinking my beer. I say hi to my 12-year-olds. I walk down to the dock. I say hi to my 60-year-olds, make sure they're not, you know, gonna die out there boating and speedboat or the jet skis that I got. Then I throw that beer away. I pull my other beer out. I walk over to the snack shack across the big blue or beautiful grassy area onto the beach, looking up Lake Chelan, looking at the butte, where they have this amazing burger shack. And I sit there, I get a burger on the deck. And I mean, it's completely open container. It's completely a resort. Oh, and there's a little bit of a guard gate, you know, stop people. You can walk to Buddy's Tavern and get arrested on the way home for DUI. There's so many things in the summertime in Chelan that this is literally like going back 35 years when I grew up there as a kid. It cannot be duplicated. Another example is the fingers. You guys know what the fingers are in Chelan? So there was each finger was divided into 4 lots, and one of my friends said, hey, what do you think about those fingers? I'm thinking about selling my house in Chelan Hills, which I've been listed for $1.3 million. I go, that's 2.1 million for the lot. He goes, yeah, what do you think? I go, well, build a couple $1 million house and I'll sell it for 6 million. I don't know if 2 million enough. You can sell it for 6 million, I go, maybe. They're not making any more fingers.
Those are 2.5 million for what?
The outside ones, Desiree just sold one on the inside, for 1.1 million. $1 million more to be on the outside. You know why? Because there's like 6 of them.
Yeah.
This is supply and demand.
There's 6 of them total?
Yeah.
And she
That's
sold
4,
one.
6, 7, 8.
The outside, one lot.
8, 10
for
total.
Oh, wow.
1.1.
But that one, last one was cash. Both of them were cash. One was an owner contract.
That was about 30 years in the making too, wasn't it, getting to that point?
Yeah, it was 50, 60 years in the making and litigation for about 20 or 10. They sued him and the Superior Court said rip them out because they didn't have permission to put the fill in. They were made when they built the road. But then, that was 50 years ago. So the appellate court reversed the decision because that would be the eco disaster for the, the fish. It was just an activist group that loves, I call them the anti-everything movement. It doesn't matter what they're bitching against. Right now, they don't want us to develop the view, even though we're gonna give the money to the people. It's not about the view, it's not about the finger, it's not about lead arsenic, it's just about bitching and acting important. So you have that in life, right? It's free, it's free speech, whatever, you should do that. It's just sad when you listen to them because they're selfish and they're wolves in sheep's clothing and they buffalo the naivete people. I hate that. I have no respect for that. My dad didn't want growth either. I respected that. He said, I don't like these damn tourists. Get them out of my town. Okay, I know where you stand. Why are you a real estate agent bringing all these people to town? Because farming doesn't pay me anything. That's why.
Yeah.
Well, all you gotta do is win the lotto and farm until you're all gone, son. Sounds good. Anyway.
Probability that.
He was right.
Yeah.
He was right. So anyway, it's gonna be a fun project, but here's the thing. I'm more excited about these projects, because you know how many clients I got out of the Sunset Marina that didn't buy a marina slip?
1,000.
And you know how I met the guy that just bought the $2.1 million lot? I bought F3 and I sold him F4 at the marina. And then I listed his house for 1.3 and then I sold him a lot for 2.1. And then I brought him an offer of 915 on his house. He goes, are you kidding me? I don't need to sell that house. My kids will be pissed at me. The one that I've listed, he goes, how about you just find the right guy? I know you will. You always talk about the 3 Bs. Sold me on it. Beer, beach, and bikini. Pretty sophisticated. They said, if it doesn't happen, has the real estate market ever gone down over the long run in Chelan? Nope, then I'll just keep it till it catches up. Again, it's having that open communication with the guy, but it all started with a project and a $130,000 slip at the time. That's an abundant mind. That's the FU of real estate. Everybody know what the FU is? Follow up. That's what these projects do for you. If you want to sell FHA, first time home buyers all day, it's here. You can do that. There's no FHA buyers in Chelan. They're both important. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying, why limit yourself? But it is work. You have to bring energy. But energy equals money and fun. It's a lot of fun. I mean, I have the 3 to 7 beer mark. No, I'm just kidding.